Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be covering one of my favorite or preferred meditation postures, which is Varjasana. It means, literally translated, thunderbolt, because you're sat on your knees and your heels and you have the shape of a thunderbolt. This is very, very good for the digestive system. It can prevent hernia. It also has a lot of other benefits. I'm going to be reading a little bit from my notes here, just because I want to make sure I get the Sanskrit words correctly. The other thing Varjasana can do is it can reduce hyperactivity. It can help avoid peptic ulcers. And also it can translate, how should we say, it can transform an overabundance of sexual energy into spiritual energy. So, very useful posture. It's just sitting like this. Another thing you can do with this posture is if you eat a lot of food or you just want to help the digestion, if you do this 5 minutes after having eaten, it helps stimulate and activate the digestive system area as well. Also, if you have like acute digestive problems in some way, you can breathe 100 times before eating with breath awareness, 100 breaths to say, and then seated in this posture once again in Thunderbolt, and then 100 times or 100 breaths afterwards as well. So again, just seated in this posture does all these things. The root element of it is because you're blocking the circulation a bit to the legs. The body has more power and more direction to go direct to the stomach and digestive system. So this is how the concept of what's happening. Now, there's also another form of doing this. Some people like it for meditation. You could normally do like a mudra or a hand position in front, but you can also do this one here. This one is called Ananda Madrasana. Sanskrit's not my first language. But you just put your palms, your hands going underneath, your fingers touching behind, and you just sat on your palms. So some people like this for the additional support it gives to the posture. It could perhaps open a little bit more airflow for breathing. And so it's just personal preference. Another option for seating, and again, also has the same positive effects as the normal Thunderbolt or Varjasana. Now the next one is Harasana. Now this one's very, very interesting because you can use this before a breathing exercise like pranayama, or if you're starting your practice in the morning and you have a clogged nostril, or both even. Again, you're sat in Thunderbolt, and you simply take your hands, put them under your armpits. Now, this helps stimulate the parasympathetic and sympathetic nerve centers. And if you hold here for 1 minute, perhaps 2, you can actually clear the passages for better breath and continue with your meditation or yoga practice. So, a little yogic secret here. It has a name. And this is a real posture, so something to keep in mind for those cold days of the winter, or maybe just any moment that you wake up with a bit of a bothersome nose or a passageway for breathing. So that's one. And now the next one is Varjasana, also known as the gracious pose. Now this one, I'm going to lower a little bit the camera. There we go. Okay, this one we can add a brick for if you don't reach, because what you want to do is it's just Varjasana, but you're separating the legs as such, and then you try and get the thumb between the heels, as it were, and you got to get your perineum to touch. Now, if you're not flexible enough, there are options. You could either put a blanket, or you could take a brick this way, long way, and just put it under there comfortably. So you've got a support and you're touching. What you don't want to be doing is taking a meditative posture or practice posture and have one part of the body not touching the floor, not having contact. Because the idea is this is a grounding position. So you can sit here like this comfortably. You might even find this more comfortable for the ankles and for the knees, for longer term meditation purposes. Again, it's all subjective. It's down to individual preference. I'm just showing some ideas today. Now, the last one, I believe, is, no, we have two more. The lions. Simhasana. This one, you've heard probably of the roaring lion pose, the tongue out. Well, this is the other one. This is the just normal lion, where you put your hands in, wrists facing out, fingers in, and you just sit back, arch your shoulders, and you're just the waiting lion. Now this is very good for elongating the spine. It gives super stable feeling. Now again, if you're not touching the floor, well, here you can add the brick as well. Maybe not a bad idea, because what you want to have is 5 points touching the floor. The perineum or cervix, the knees, we'll just call them the legs, and the two hands. So that's 5 points of contact, and that's why this is considered one of the most stable and equalizing, sort of calming postures that there are out of the whole series. So that's one. Now the next one is the same, but adding the breath element, and there you have the roaring lion. So same thing, just leaning forward again, and this time inhale through the nose, and although it's strange, we're going to exhale through the mouth and stick out our tongue whilst looking at our third eye. So focus on the gaze on the third eye, exhaling and say ah, or you could say however you want to do it, with the tongue loose and just going out. And you're supposed to do this 5 or 10 times. You can do it any time of day. So let's do it one more time. Inhale. Ah. Exhale. Okay. So, I mean, everybody's lion has a different sound. I'm not real up on that one. But apparently with practice, this can also improve the sound of your voice. So, nice little thing to have in mind. It does give the extension of the spinal cord, like we mentioned. And let's see. Now, we also have quite a few more. Two more after the two more. Here, Varjasana, which is the hero's pose. This one I quite like. It reminds me of a statue that I saw at the Baltimore Museum of Art. They're near Johns Hopkins. And they're sculptured on it. So what you do is you start out in Varjasana. You're in the Thunderbolt. And you take your right leg, just put it like that. Sit a little bit offside the heel, so your bum's on the floor. And then with your right arm here, place your hand, and your left hand here. And you just gaze, close your eyes, relax. Now the idea with this one is that it is very helpful in supporting or improving clear thought, precise thought. I'm sorry, you want to sit on your heel, you don't sit to the side. The correct way is like this. The legs are touching, everything's together. Here, I'll just get a little bit better in the camera. I know it's not the best lighting. Okay, and so we're just like this, and this is the hero's pose, also known as the philosopher's pose. In Sanskrit, it is called Varjasana. So there you go. Now let's try the other side. So again, you're in Varjasana, Thunderbolt. Just lift the leg, keep it tight next to the other. You're still in the heel back there. Left arm on top of the left knee. Right hand on top of the right knee. And just casting a gaze or closing your eyes, calm breath. And you balance here. And and it's very good for people who have very overly active minds. It's got a lot of benefits, actually. It's also good for the kidney and the liver, and I think it's one worth trying, worth thinking about trying. And the next one is Shankasana, which is child's pose, effectively, but with sort of like a salutation. So you're here, you come up, inhale, arms in the air, and then exhale, coming down. And when you're down there, you stay for like a couple breaths. You can stay as long as you like. The idea with this one is it can separate the back, the spinal cord a little bit, and it's very good for stiffness in the back. For example, there's 4 different variations of this one. You can just go with the hands forward, or if you put your hands grabbing a wrist behind you, this is good for people who are just perhaps with some ailments in the back already, and you just put their forehead down. And the second one is very interesting. This doesn't come up very often in yoga, but you put your fists right here in the abdomen to force stimulation in the stomach. So when you go forward with the compression, the forehead touches on the floor, and you got your fists there, and believe me, you feel like you're activating some organs. So that's number 2. And then number 3, I like this one for myself. It's very good for the shoulders, and yeah, it's a fantastic shoulder one. So you lace your fingers behind you, pull the shoulders back, and just go on the forehead, lifting your arms up over your head. That's a very good one. There we go. Very nice. And the last one is, if you're really in quite a uncomfortable state and you don't find yourself going forward very easily at all, well, you can use your fists, or you're going to block, but you can use your fists just in front of your forehead, and that way you're not traveling such a distance. You still have the overall effect of the posture, but you're keeping yourself off the floor by a bit of a distance, and then you can work up. You could just take away one fist, down to one fist. The same thing with the block. You could have the block this height and then make it thinner, for example. Another thing I'd like to cover before we go is the mat. A lot of times people complain about their knees and their ankles. Well, you can roll the mat, make a fold like that. Where the knees are, that's one spot. Or you can also make another fold here where your ankles go. And so you've got triple mat in those 2 key points that could be a bother for holding this position for a long time. So something to keep in mind. I hope this video has been helpful and informative. And come back and see my channel again. Don't forget to subscribe. And namaste. Have a nice day.